You can drop those spoilers here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Syril died.
Ooh, and along with it, the Dedra arc.
Oh,
ouch! That passed away before Syril even.
yeah, that really.
There was no. I mean, but even then, you're like, well, maybe they could work it out.
Maybe it could still be salvaged.
The way that
Get
it
some couples
ended,
counseling.
the way that it ended though was ouch. It was the way Dedra ended was ouch.
Yeah, they shoved the knife in your heart and said, "Oh man, they just broke up. Like it's done." And then headshot, like
dude,
gnarly.
yeah.
It was awesome. I was loving every bit of it. So much
dude.
Controversy. It was killer.
It was like a headshot to our hearts.
Who predicted that? I mean, we predicted failure on all fronts for them because they're bad people.
Right.
But like this kind of failure, I mean, and then like the Dedra part is what I'm getting at, and then like let alone the Syril ending, but like how they just like she was manipulating him and kind of gave him that weird kiss, and he was like, "What did we do? We haven't done anything," and started figuring out that she was using him, whether she wanted to or not. She did though. She wanted Partagaz's approval, right? And so he told her, he's not allowed to know any of this stuff." Used him, and
she sold
paid
her soul
the price
to the Empire.
Yeah, she used him, and she paid the price, and then she was his demise. I mean, and on all fronts.
Yeah.
Now, who was wrong? Who was more wrong, Dedra or Syril's mom?
Yeah, both of them. And that's the tragedy. It's really the tragedy of Syril. He grew up without a father figure, so then he found it in the Empire in some way. So he threw himself at that and was just constantly being used by toxic women in some ways, to be honest, or toxic people in general. Sorry, but it was women. And then, I mean, it's still the Empire in general, I guess, too. But then we finally, that's what I heard in that declassified thing, fact checker you were talking about. One of the things, even the actor, I forget his name, who played Syril, I'm sure you'll find it for me, fact checker. Thank you. He even said, he's like, we finally get to see the Syril that we wanted to see, where he's like standing up for himself and he's finally becoming his own man. What was, Kyle? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kyle Solar. Yeah. Fantastic actor, man.
Yeah.
And we finally get to see that, only to experience the tragedy of him coming into his own and then ending.
Yeah. He finally had
it's great.
He finally had his, man up moment where he's like, I'm not taking this. I'm sick and tired of people pushing me around, blah, blah, blah. Only to have it end in the ultimate tragedy by having that French guy, the dad or whatever.
Who he betrayed.
Who he straight up betrayed. Oh, yeah. He was using him the whole time. Oh, yeah. Syril was.
But at the same time, I don't think, but even Syril didn't know it was coming to that conclusion.
No.
So that's where he was betrayed, because he was kind of working with them, still betraying them. I'm not saying what he did was right, but he didn't realize the extent that he was betraying them. And that's where the whole Dedra manipulating him and the Empire manipulating him, he realizes how bad of a person he is, especially whenever the father, I forget his name now, but when he's throwing him up against the door and throws him in the street because he can't. Rylance. He can't even believe himself. And that dude was a fantastic actor. I love that acting. Yeah. All of those people in Ghorman were fantastic, dude. But yeah, that was hard to watch.
Syril, he still chose in a way his ending.
Yeah.
And that was sad too.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have to take out his aggression on Cassian.
Right.
Yeah, that was almost surprising to me. I understood it, but at the same time, it was like, all of us kind of wanted him to run up to Andor and be like, I want to join your side, He's like, that almost would have been more satisfying to me. I'm not going to lie. I'm more of that hopeful, optimistic person that would have enjoyed him turning to the rebellion side and working against Dedra and the people that manipulated him his whole entire life.
Or there was a time where we thought he was going to get caught in the crossfire by the Imperials, because it was Dedra that was like, pull the trigger, like go. And she knew he was out there.
Yeah.
Because they just kicked
even
him out.
Even more evil on her
so
part.
she's like, she thought she was going to be his literal demise, and she has to live with that, knowing that's probably what happened. She doesn't know how it happened, but that fact that it happened that way, and he just It was brutal. But I think, taking Andor out himself was like the first time he made his own decision.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody was telling him what to do. And he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take that guy out. He's the problem, you know, in that moment, he was the cause of every problem because he wasn't able to succeed at the beginning in the very first arc of Andor.
Yeah.
And then the very end of him was trying to like, if I had only caught you right away,
and that's
all of this, my promotion, the mom calling him a loser, Uncle Harlow, who we still haven't met, Dedra, you know, having to question him and getting all this jazz, he would have ascended the ranks like he always dreamed about. And nope. And so sure enough, I mean, that the layers of storytelling that is, that's like beyond, that's like high end writing stuff that I don't understand or take the time to do. But to think of that tragedy, and I'm sure there's parallels with other Shakespearean tragedies and how these things all work together with heroes and villains, and he is his own hero. And so he was doing the heroic thing by trying to take Andor out at the end, only to be shot by
in the head, dude. That was so brutal too. It was like, oh,
and they showed it. How awesome is that?
Right. That's what I'm saying, on Disney Plus.
That was crazy.
After a visceral fight. I mean, the fight with him and Andor. Fight, dude. Like, you didn't think Syril could fight like that.
No way.
He could barely hand papers off and type, you know? It's like now all of a sudden he's like not buff, but he was like going toe to toe with Andor the assassin.
Yeah, he almost got him.
Like that part was a little unrealistic.
Yeah. But it's just pure rage. It's pure rage. His dark side.
Yeah, it was just pure dark side rage is what took over, and he just saw red. That's all it was, man. And he was just like a bull. He didn't care. And I don't think he cared about himself at that point either, which
he was so
just
blinded.
You know, there were shots going. I don't know how he didn't get shot before that, to be honest. But it was just crazy watching that. And the fact that he did technically beat Andor and was about to kill him. If that other guy wouldn't have been there.
Well, there was
but
a
he
moment.
Hesitated.
That hesitation is what I was going to point out.
Yeah, do it.
He could have killed Cassian right then and there, and he didn't, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that makes it even. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that makes it
even more
tragic.
complicated.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because what was he going to do? Was he going to let him go? Was he then going to be like, I'm glad we had this talk.
Right. He got out his aggression and then could release it, maybe?
And maybe had a clearer head and then only to then be just taken out by the guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what?
It almost kind of was poetry in some ways because Andor had the chance to kill him. He had the chance to kill Syril, and Luthen told him to kill Syril.
Oh, that's true.
And he decided not to. So was it kind of a similar situation there?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I don't know. But that's a good point, though, Dan. That's a really good point. But a great fight scene nonetheless.
Did I make a point?
You always make great points.
Oh, good.
Matt also made a good point. Oh, but go ahead.
There's so many good points in the chat. I wish we could.
Yeah, I know. You guys are.
I just want to be like, all right, we're just going to load the chat in, and then we're just going to comment on what you guys are saying.
Yeah, seriously. You guys
we have the smart chat.
Man, you guys are on.
What do you want me to pull a comment in or something?
Big brain. Is that what you're saying, Hunter?
Mm-hmm. Matt? You said something Matt said?
Yeah, Matt said the hesitation was because he couldn't believe Andor didn't remember him.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Well, that's what happens when you grow your hair like you're an emo rock band. Like, like he went from like fresh crew cut to like someone who would play in Blink 182. Like, I mean, what do you expect?
Right.
It was good. It was a good style on him.
No, he looks stupid, but you know,
wow,
that's good.
He looked relaxed, a little bit more relaxed and like down to earth instead of the uptight.
Yeah, he was so relaxed he had to go lay down because he couldn't handle the stress.
Well,
I mean,
true.
That was a whole different situation. Yeah. His hair was short then.
Right, yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah. That's like, I think somebody said it in the chat as well. That's one of the saddest moments is we won't have those awkward dinner moments anymore.
And how?
Ellie said that.
And who was it that you were feeling bad for? That you were mad that you were feeling bad for?
His
fact
mom,
checker.
Edie.
His mom.
No, I didn't. I didn't like her this entire time. I mean, she was funny, of course. She
was funny, man.
And whatever weird comedy it was is interesting to watch. But she aggravated the crap out of me because you could just see how she tortured her son.
the way she was so manipulative with him.
Yeah.
Well,
but
he is the way he is because of her.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's trying. Like she really does want the best for him, but she's just really annoying.
I don't know.
She wants what's best for her, which means he needs to be successful so that she looks good to Uncle Harlow or whatever.
Or her friends.
That's true.
She's a grade A narcissist. I feel nothing for her. So
yeah. I mean, but the tears, I gotta admit, the tears at the end was when
great
she was sitting there.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great acting. And when she was sitting there with her friends or whatever, like that, you know, I don't know what it was with that group of women that she was with. I was like, it just felt like like you just found out like your son was gone at war and he like passed, and then the ladies come all and they bring him food and everybody's eating or whatever. I don't know. It was like that. It was like, wow, why do you got to do that?
Yeah,
because she deserves to be sad, and she deserves to be like, well, you like, okay, yeah, you wanted him there, but you know, who was worse, her or Dedra to Syril?
They're both equally bad.
I mean, we could write a book on this.
Technically, Dedra is the worst because she got him killed and made the order to basically take him out. Yeah. And this other sad part about it, the tragedy is technically Syril saved Dedra. Is he was literally about to shoot Dedra.
Yeah, that's true.
And then he took Andor out.
That's true.
So,
I mean, that
felt argue though. Well, you could also argue, though, that if she would have been a better mother to him, he would have never ended up there to begin with as well.
Point.
Yes.
So, great point.
Yeah. And there's a gigantic difference between, like, you know, a handful of years of mistreatment compared to, like, 30 years of mistreatment. So.
Yeah, that's
fair.
I
mean, it starts at home, for sure.
It does, yeah for sure. It's how you're raised. So much goes back to how you were raised.
And same with
her.
Dedra.
Yeah, she was raised in the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the heck is this? Are we, you know, I love Matt's comment, bringing the comedy to this. Well, maybe Edie will move in with Dedra now. It's like a mother-in-law. Were they wedded, or were they just? No. No, they weren't. But
yeah, Bismuth says she evil. She gonna use this to make her status in the Empire higher.
That's true.
Could you imagine that wedding? That would be great.
Yeah, what a strange part of gas is like officiating or something.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I hope you don't share valuable information with your husband.
Yeah, well that was definitely the most tragic though. Syril getting taken out was the most tragic part of that whole. Well, and this is where I want to go to and also just the Ghormans. I mean, that was so tragic. Actually, that's almost more tragic in some ways because I mean
they were innocent.
They didn't deserve it. You know,
it was
And the way that the Empire orchestrated that whole thing, they just to get what they wanted. That is an evil imperial dictatorship doing dictator things, controlling the narrative. You saw the cameras. I know not everybody loved the cameras.
Fact check was talking about.
I actually, for me, it made sense. I mean, because that's what they do, and they even talked about it in the first episode, controlling the narrative. And they definitely did that. They showed it and how the whole rest of the galaxy they were trying to convince that the Ghormans were the aggressors. The Ghormans were the one fighting the Empire. The Ghormans were the ones doing all this stuff that they shouldn't be doing. The Empire's, you know, they're good people. They're not trying to harm anything, and they're just trying to keep the peace. Whereas, no, in reality, they're cranking up the heat. Empire's cranking up the heat to 11 and basically forcing their hand. And that's why it was so tragic at the end with the father. And he finally realizes, like in the beginning, he didn't realize. The whole time he was pushing for peace. But in the end, he finally realized, he was like, it's a trap. It's a trap. He knew it, but there was nothing they could do. And that was the tragedy. And like you were talking about, Hunter, where we got what'd you call it? Cooking in the
crock-pot cinema.
Crock-pot cinema.
Yeah, it was just boiling, man. Just kept boiling. And the way they filmed it, though, with them coming into the square, chanting, you know, we are the Gore, the galaxy is watching. I mean, that was crazy. And then they took it to a whole nother level when they all started singing that national anthem. And dang, man, that was, and you knew it was coming. So it was so hard because you're like, oh, these poor innocent people, and they're just trying to stick up for themselves and for where they live, you know, and they're just being totally used as pawns. That's like the sick, evil empire at its full height. And that dude that was smiling
Oh my goodness! They kept panning to him. I was like, that guy's got to go.
I know you wanted him to go. You wanted him to go.
You're
so
just like,
bad.
stop smiling. Like,
but it made you feel that.
Yeah,
that's the genius of it.
Because it felt like Tony Gilroy's like, he said, you're watching this show. You want to watch Andor? All right, cool. All right, you're gonna root for these guys. You're gonna root for these guys. You're not gonna be sure about Syril and Dedra, but I'm gonna make you feel like they're human, and you're gonna like them. And then I'm gonna put you in the middle of the massacre, and I'm gonna see if you can get out as a viewer. Yeah. And I was like, I can't get out. I can't get out.
Right. There's nowhere to go.
Like, then like the brutality of like when the one lady that they were talking about goes a flying with the crunches and everything.
That was one of the roughest death scenes of the whole thing.
And then the various, and then the way that it started with that one guard getting sniped by the Empire. That Channel 5 or whatever.
That's what secret government agencies do. That's the thing. Like they portrayed that very well because that is real. That happens in real life. So
it's easy to mimic it when it happens all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
If anything, you should be taking notes about this show because there's been an insane amount of realistic things that have happened in this show that have happened in the real world all over the world.
Yep.
And they've really did a great job making you hate the Empire. Like they really want you to hate them. I mean, they've established that right out of the get-go, like where in Rebels, and it's like a lot. It's not as in depth.
Right.
But like this whole show's been just pure in-depth hatred. It shows you the stoops that they're willing to go, about how they're willing to abuse their power and certain individuals abusing their power. That happens every day in everyday life. So it's relatable on that aspect of things too.
Yeah.
So I think that's like one thing that they're really crushing with this particular show when it comes to showing just how sick and twisted they are and how far they're willing to go to, put their foot down even further on their throats. And the brutality of it just shows you even more of how nasty it's been. So, which we haven't really seen them demonstrate in Star Wars, really. So,
which to Tony Gilroy's point, well said, very, very well said, Hunter. And to Tony Gilroy's point, in some ways, even just this arc makes us view Rogue One and Star Wars from a different perspective now. They are evil. This is not an ambiguous, like, oh, they're just misunderstood. They're looking for, peace in the galaxy, prosperity. It's like, no, they're straight up evil. Come on. That was straight up evil. Not everybody in the Empire is evil, but that was straight up evil right there. You can't deny that. So,
I mean, it's made me rethink about all of it, to be honest with you. And I guess that's a good thing in a way because, like you said, when you're dealing with other certain shows, they mention things, but they never go into detail. Like, they mentioned the massacre that happened in our Operation Cinder and Mando, and they've dropped little Easter eggs here and there, but they've never physically shown you what's going down. So brutal, but necessary. So
I saw that. Yeah. And Tamerkins had a good point here.
Yeah.
The absolute worst part for her was Dedra trying to escape her Imperial uniform, but also straighten it out and just being completely gutted in that safe house. Mm-hmm. That was a rough scene. Like, I was not expecting that obviously we saw it in the trailer, so we recognized it, but the weight and the impact of that, you're like, what? She is a psychopath, but feeling emotions. It's like, it was a weird scene, but oh man.
And that goes to show you how great of an actress she is because she's literally trying to show people what a normal trauma response would be to that particular situation because she's still human and she still has morals, just no matter how deep they are in there, they're in there somewhere. So it's like, she's not, and she's never been put in a situation where she's never really had to experience this. So she doesn't know how to act. So that's kind of why you see her being all frantic about her specific movements.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's like your body has like responses to things like stress and trauma and all that stuff. Like you can't control, like her brain has been programmed to not feel or care.
Yeah.
But then that was like the craziest acting where like literally, she couldn't, like her brain couldn't shut off her response in that situation, which is crazy. Like how many takes did she have to, what do you look up to do? I mean, I was telling somebody in the chat, like Duke, I was like, it reminded me, this is me, of Joaquin Phoenix in like The Joker, some of like the physicality of that, and like when you're that twisted and evil.
The first Joker.
What's that?
The first Joker.
I didn't see this. I didn't see the second one.
I heard it was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't see the second one. The first one. But they were just like, or like a true high level acting. And it's just like, it was only like a 30-second scene or 20 seconds, but you felt what she was feeling still. And I'm like, I don't even understand how I kind of relate, but I've never experienced, and to be that level of evil and to have some kind of a response to taking out her friend and all of the people.
Yeah. Well, and it was interesting throughout this whole arc how Partagaz kept saying, control your breathing, or like he kind of kept reprimanding her for kind of getting excited, not excited, but worked up.
Yeah.
When she was doing her reports to him. And I thought that was fascinating. So she was clearly struggling throughout all of this. And he was, continued to reprimand her, and then she'd straighten up and, force it down. But then in the end, she was at war with herself.
Well, and wasn't it the whole time she was like constantly like to Partagaz, like, well, yeah, why? She was getting worked up. She's like, wait, why are we doing this? Why are we bringing him in? Do we really have to come in and drop the things? Why are you putting up barricades? And she was kind of like, that's where as viewers we're like, maybe she's gonna like turn. Maybe she's gonna see that they're going too far. She's not gonna do it. And Syril's gonna get burned, and then they're gonna run off together. Like they still made you feel like she might do that. And then you realize no, she tortured Bix in season 1 and almost smiled or did smile. You're like, okay.
That kind of takes you.
She's on another level. This is just like the big, I think it was just the scale of it that she wasn't even, and it was accelerating so fast because she was kind of trying to protect Syril, or she was managing Syril. I don't know if she was trying to protect him, but she knew that if he went too fast and she couldn't convince him, when she was trying to convince him in that one hallway scene, she's like, this is going to backfire in my face. And it did. And he was like, the part where he goes in the room and like she kicks the guard out and it's just him and her. Like that was something else I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Dark
dude,
again.
When he
starts choking
and he went violent, I was like,
whoa. I was like, oh, this is heavy on that level with them.
And he basically had to force it out of her. I mean, that was, he was tired of being lied to. And he was like, what's the real thing? And Matt had a great point here too. He said, plus remember, she was the one who suggested to Krennic that they use the Ghorman insurgents as the catalyst to solve his Ghorman planet problem. So that full realization came about to a very tragic end. So she is feeling the weight of that. So it's, wow. What great acting. Yeah. Great writing.
I don't think she realized it. I don't really think she realized the consequences of her actions at that point. I mean, maybe she was given breadcrumbs too. It seems like everybody in this is given breadcrumbs, whether it's Dedra, Syril. I keep calling it Dedra or Syril. But everyone's being breadcrumbed along, and no one really knows what's going on. So it's probably part of the problem why she doesn't know how to respond to it, because she's just as confused as everyone else to a degree. So.
Right. And then Duke, to follow that point up, Duke has a great point here. He says, I feel like she was unraveling once she finally realized she wasn't in control anymore. And that, I think, is a very good point there.
And that might be something we can all kind of relate to.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we kind of sympathized with her a little bit, or found it fascinating to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And in that moment also where she was freaking out, she was stuck though. What else can she do? She was tore up, tragic that she basically sacrificed her love and lied to him and got him killed, used him, had to come to terms with that in that moment, but then realized I have no other path. The only thing I can do now, again, is stick with the Empire. That's all I know. That's
go forward.
Thing. Which we did speculate, though, that Syril would die and she might turn to the good side, but I don't see that happening now. No. I don't see that happening now. The way it all unfolded, that does not seem like a possibility, and now. So
well, and then Matt said what I said last night. Dedra will probably get promoted to live on the Death Star now.
I hope
that would be very fitting, because then there's just so much to that.
There's a lot to that.
It's like justice.
Yeah, it's like weird. Then Andor helped build the pieces that did the thing, and Loy had his, Melshi was there and did it, and of course,
and this whole Ghorman is to get the power,
to get parts for the thing, for power,
for the Death Star.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
it all ties together.
There's a lot of connective tissue here. Interesting.
A lot of moving parts of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many moving
how the
parts.
Empire or the Emperor was pushing this too, which makes sense.
Right.
Like he has to have whatever it is that this planet has, and like they're sick and tired of waiting, and then for Dedra to be like, whoa, okay, so this is real. Like we've done our job, but this is what happens at the end of doing our job. And then when they get impatient, it's like just go in and take them out, just be done with it.
Right. And
no more messing around. We don't have time to deal with the fake Ghormans and the fake insurgents.
Yeah, we need it now, so get it done. Basically, I don't care what means it is. That was the tragedy of it in a lot of ways. But also, I know there were some comments people were talking about the KX droids, the K2S series droids, and how intimidating they were and scary they portrayed them in this. And wow, we've already kind of touched upon it. Whenever they were just chucking people left and right to their demise, I was like, whoa. That's a different way. They didn't even like punch him. They just grabbed him and threw him. I was like, what a way to go out. It was rough, but cool at the same time to finally see them get K2.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of towards the end, but it was still in that episode 8 arc whenever he just plowed right into it. Was like, poof. That was awesome to see him take out that K2S or KX droid. And that was pretty satisfying in my opinion there, him running into that. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I thought it was
awesome.
It was awesome. I thought it was just very scary. It was even interesting how when they put Syril in that detention room for a few minutes and he walks in and it's all the droids.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, whoa.
Yeah.
They were the security droids or whatever, right? And then the way he looked up, we're like, that's K2. Like we just knew. It's in the eyes.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they started wrecking shop, and it's just like any good villain, you know, when they're doing a battle, they're like, they always have, it was like that in the prequels, right? They would send in the B1s and then they would bring in the
B2 battle droids.
What were the rolling ones?
Oh yeah, the hunter or the droidicas,
yeah, you know what I'm saying. But it was always like the dumb little B1s that could do nothing, and then they'd be like, bring in the ones, and then the Jedi was like, crap, you know. So very very Star Wars sequentially, they always have a one up, you know, in a battle situation to bring in the reinforcements.
Yeah,
and that the sound design I love too, the way you just hear it. Because there was no music. I gotta look. I don't think there was any music during the entire Ghorman massacre until it was done. And so that's like,
yeah. If anything, it was just like drums or something.
They talked
like
about
that.
it in the Unlocked.
Really, that no music,
the music.
Or about the music, how they did it. Yeah,
Yep.
It was very carefully crafted.
It was.
That sequence though, when they came out, was close to a Vader sequence. Like it was just, they were unstoppable. There was like nothing you could do. Yeah. But almost accept your fate with those.
Yeah, pretty much
those KX droids.
Yeah,
that was pretty epic.
Except what Andor? What do you think he's gonna do? Like it wasn't working.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
If it was getting closer and closer, what are you gonna do? Like go hand to hand against him? No, you're gonna be about flying across the room in about 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Also fitting that it was the same insurgent guy driving that got smashed K2 that got Cinta killed.
Yeah,
that was interesting. I think he does everything accidentally. I think he actually just doesn't know how to drive the thing, and he just happened to accidentally. They're like, thanks. He's like, what do you mean thanks? I just crashed.
You're like, you're welcome.
And the car was obviously drivable still, or the tank or whatever, or was that like one of the transports that they stole stuff from?
No, that was the troop transport that
brought in
those green. That was the other crazy thing. That brought in those green recruits, and those recruits were literally just cannon fodder. They were the sacrificial lambs in some ways for the Empire. Yeah. And even that one dude who was in charge of them was like telling them, like, these guys aren't ready. This isn't this. And they're the guy that's doing the smile. He's like, I know, that's what I want. I want them to go out. You're like, dude, that is dark.
And was that the same guy, Matt, or anybody that was from Mandalorian? Is it completely separate? The guy with the scar, completely separate?
I'm not sure.
He just looked familiar enough.
I don't think it was him, but
okay.
But maybe. I don't know.
He played the same dark evil, and I mean, I feel maybe he was higher ranked than the guy in Mando, probably, but maybe not. I don't know. But
yeah,
he was scary. And
right.
When he smiled, you're like, this guy has to go. And he was mean to Dedra.
Right.
Nobody's mean to Dedra except for Syril, I guess. And you know, I don't know. Like you're not rooting for Dedra. but like we want a dead droid to make it out. Maybe maybe they could make it out and accidentally get knocked out and then have a change of heart once they showed up on Yavin or something.
Matt did say separate guy, not the same.
Okay,
not
good to
the same
know.
Guy. But that would have been a cool tie-in if they did do that.
It would have been interesting.
It would have been even cooler if
scary.
Miggs Mayfield was there as well.
That's true. That's true.
And we got to see that sequence. That would be so cool. But there's so much more that happened in this. I mean, that was probably the biggest part, though, really, was the Ghorman massacre. I mean, we could talk on that forever. It was so well done, so well executed. So many things about it are just chef's kiss. But I did want to touch on a few other things. So I did really love seeing Yavin 4. It was really cool to see that even more fleshed out than in the original trilogy. I love the opening sequence when they're landing there, and it did sound like for a second that was going to be Kino Loy. I was like, is it going to be him? I still hope we get Kino Loy back because I love that character, and I love Andy Serkis as well. He's such a fantastic actor. But it was so cool to see that, and it was cool to see them on Yavin. What did you guys think about Yavin and kind of where they ended up? Because they left Luthen and they joined the actual kind of rebellion. What do you guys think about Yavin?
Oh man, it was good. I thought it was kind of cool to see the Hobbit doors. Hobbit doors. and the aesthetic. They know what it's supposed to look like because they did it in Rogue One. They also know what it looked like because that's like hallowed ground. You think about it, like Yavin 4, like that's the original base of the original Star Wars where like everything went down. They almost got blown up by 0.03 seconds and Luke just hit that shot 1 in a million, whatever,
right?
And it all happens there, so it's very cool to see it explained a little bit more. And the people around are pretty cool, and I actually like the part at the very end most, I think.
Yeah, I think that was the coolest part on Yavin for sure.
What's that?
What are you talking about with K2?
Yeah, with K2.
Yeah.
And that engineer guy. And
that was awesome.
They were like,
the gear and everything.
Put on your safety goggles.
That guy felt so real.
Yeah. And then he was
the OSHA guy.
He's the OSHA guy. And then hearing his voice. It's like what a light at the end of a tunnel to hear Andy or Alan Tudyk's voice. You're like, oh, this is going to be so much fun this next 3 episodes because a year will have passed and they'll be probably going to be friends or still learning to like each other.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think that's awesome.
I love that. Yeah, and even when Alan Tudyk started talking, I just started laughing because Alan Tudyk's just a funny dude. Even the line he said something about like, "Oh, have I offended you?"
Feel more comfortable if you pointed that somewhere else or something.
Yeah, I was like, what a perfect line, dude. I love that.
Well, and it was almost like the engineer like programmed some of his personality into that or something because he was kind of funny himself.
He wasn't. What did he say? He was like,
I don't know.
I guess we're ready then, or something. Or he said something
we're ready
like
then.
that.
It just
wasn't exactly what he said, but it was good. It was funny. Bismo could relate to him in a lot of ways, which is awesome. But the other thing about Yavin that was almost not really a con, but I was confused by in some ways was those dudes. We didn't see them, the 5 hands guys. I was kind of hoping we'd get a nod to those guys making it, but they probably all got eaten or killed themselves. But there was a giant monster that was eating people on Yavin. Did they figure out a way? They must have figured out like a fence or some sort of way to keep those creatures out because they were just the Hobbit living out there, and I wouldn't be Hobbit living out there if that creature's still like you're gonna walk from point A to point B in the woods and it eats you,
Right.
So,
but then again in Rebels they had those like things that they would station.
Yes,
they used them in Bad Batch to keep monsters out of the perimeter.
Yeah, so they probably set something.
We know they have those things, and they have those guards on the lookouts, up high watching ships fly in. So
right.
It's like Jurassic Park or whatever. But I thought it was a little actually a negative that they didn't have the Roski Rules guys.
Yeah.
They didn't have to. It's been 2 years. It was like that means that was even more of a waste in some ways.
Right.
I was like, give us those guys still playing Roski Rules on Yavin,
like in the background, even.
Yeah,
like Andor walks by him, scoffs at him, and keeps walking.
Or just like one of them, just 2 of them made it out. The one leader or something, and they're like, yeah, we ended up making amends. What you told us meant something, and we decided to get along, and here we are. Or, I don't know.
Right.
But that was kind of a missed opportunity, but it's okay. If that's the worst that they did, other than the Bix ending for me wasn't my favorite, but What did you guys think about Benjamin Bratt? Or we want to go? You're still in Yavin.
Yeah, I was just gonna go real quick though. The Force healer on Yavin. I know not everybody, but Hunter, I wanted to get your take. What did you think of the Force healer on Yavin?
Well, I mean, I guess in order to give a real proper opinion, I need to know the girl's background a little bit more. Does she just have the Force? Is she ex-Jedi? Is she someone who discovered this later on in life? I mean, as someone who's read loads of the comics and kind of read the books, like Force healing's been a property that they've talked about for a long time. So this isn't like some weird sequel thing for me like it is with other people. But I didn't mind it personally. I don't understand the point of doing it, but I didn't really mind it being there other than to show that Cassian's got battle scars. But I mean, you could assume doing that kind of work, everyone would. So to me, it felt unnecessary for most of the time. I don't really understand the whole purpose of them showing that scene was and what she's going to have to do. Maybe they'll answer more questions about her later. I don't know. But to me, it's pointless at this point. So.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there too. My idea of it was that she was Force sensitive, but not enough to be like a Jedi or anything like that, but could do very minor things with the Force.
Yeah.
Almost more of just like a true believer in the Force, like a Church of the Force member type of deal. That's kind of what I felt like. But obviously she could tap into it, and that's why she could
like cheer it M-way.
Kind of like cheer it, but I think but actually had a little bit more Force ability, not ability, but could sense it more. She was at least a lot more sensitive to the Force for the fact that she knew what was going on with him. And I really think they only set that up for Bix leaving. I think that was really the only reason they brought her in, was to give Bix a reason to leave Andor. The biggest problem I have with the Force healer, in my opinion, is it takes away in some ways from the Anakin arc, because I mean, if you have Force healing in the Jedi and they can keep people from dying, then wouldn't he just figure out how to Force heal his own wife and not turn to the dark side?
Yeah.
So that's there might be a better explanation behind all that, but whenever you do that, because I've seen some hilarious memes and shorts about that, because the sequel trilogy that Rey could just like Force heal people, and then it shows Anakin, he's like, that's a thing.
Yeah, that would have taken care of the entire prequel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of weird. I mean, I don't know if childbirth. I mean, she supposedly died of a broken heart, so I don't really know how you can Force heal something like that. It's not like a lightsaber wound or a blaster wound. But I do know, like in the Jedi Apprentice series books, like with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, if you don't get selected by a master, you basically get demoted to a lower rank of healing plants and things like that. Like it kind of, I think that book's considered like C canon, whatever that means. It's canon, but can be changed, I guess, supposedly.
Right.
But there's parts of it to where, like, since he wasn't really selected by Qui-Gon, he was sent off to go basically heal plants on another world and kind of just be someone that helped out with the Force and used the Force in that way, because he wasn't deemed talented enough to be trained to be a Jedi. So that could have been the same case with this girl as well. But yeah, I suppose I never really thought about the Bix thing. But I mean, her leaving in general is kind of like, really, why are we doing this? But whatever.
Yeah.
So
that felt a little convenient. I understood it, but it was still felt a little convenient for me that
I just feel like it was, I agree. It was like we've seen a lot with Bix in this season. And it started to, like, we had the drama in the first 3 episodes because it was drama and it was something that kind of pushed the envelope. Was it for pushing the envelope's sake, or was it because it was necessary? I don't know. Then we had her drug phase in the second arc and craziness. Yeah. And then ended with like 5 seconds of she got her revenge on Gorst, and now she's bad Bix, like taking people out, walking through the hallway with Andor. And then 5 seconds later, we see her and she's like, Andor, listen to the Force healer. She will tell you what your destiny is. I think we should listen to her. And now I am changing my directive again, and I'm going to leave, and you're going to have to do this the rest of your life. I don't care if you want to do it or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed to very much like, for me, I was like, at that point, I was like, all right, just pick a lane here.
Yeah.
Like, make her a soldier now, like leading people in the Yavin, not homemaking and talking to Force healers and going on that,
like they built her up for nothing.
It seems like her redemption would be now that she's like a commander in the army, and now her and Andor they're worried about her, and that would make sense that she died in a battle or something.
That would have made more sense
because that's where she was leaning. Like that was how she got back, because now she wants to fight. She told Andor she wants to fight, not like
that's how they left fighting. Off the Ark.
She wants to fight by leaving the island and making him do what he doesn't want to do. He wants to be with her. Well, you can't do that because I say you can't. And Force Healer Lady says you're special, so I got to listen to Force Healer Lady. To me, that's a little bit. I know everybody disagrees with me.
You don't even know, by the way.
What's that? Yeah, you don't. Yeah, exactly. And Andor disagreed. Yeah. Andor disagreed. I'm like, do you care about Andor's opinion or just your opinion? So to me, that was my least favorite part. The one gripe that I have now, it could still be resolved if Andor like chases after her, or maybe she does become some kind of a leader off world somewhere else. But I don't know. I just like the Bix arc kind of to me was like a weird ending.
It felt like felt like forced drama in some ways, unfortunately, with Bix. Like pretty much everything that happened after season 1, just in season 2 with Bix, just felt like forced drama. Like I felt like you could have left a lot of it out and it still would have been just as good. Or like you said, Dan, make her more prominent as a prominent figure, and then she has to go do something else. And and then that fuels his fire to fight the Empire even more, because he's just literally lost everything because Bix dies, instead of just leaving, which we were all like, well, couldn't he just go find her? And even you, Dan, we were like, as a man, like, I go find her. Like,
exactly.
If you're that much in love,
he finally realized
that walk away.
He finally realized what he wanted to do. Like, he was done. He told Luthen he was done. He told Clay he was done. He told everybody. He saved Mothma. He goes back to talk to her and he's like, all right, I got it. We're going to be like, go live peacefully and da-da-da-da-da. Now, obviously, I guess if you take him out of the equation, then the rebel plans never get saved, and then Luke never gets a chance. So in the real storyline, you have to have him in the rebellion. He can't just go live happily ever after. But I don't feel like they had to take that ending with Bix and like she makes her own decision to. Yeah, somebody said, I think KG
forces him to do.
I did think it was a bit weird that she chooses the rebellion yet leaves the rebellion.
Right.
So it's kind of like, you're confusing me. Is she mad? Is she sad? Is she happy where she is? Is she a fighter? Is she a peacemaker?
Where did she go?
Is she now like going to become a force healer with that other lady and go train to become?
Maybe Luthen's the one who pulled the plug on her because she was a distraction.
He could have convinced her to go somewhere else and help in that situation.
He convinced her. He had some more of that spice, and she's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah."
I almost wonder if she didn't go join up with like Saw or something, Saw Gerrera. But I don't really see her doing that. But
I just
possible.
don't. If is that the last time we're going to see Bix? That's my last question.
There's still 3 episodes.
I don't know.
Still 3 episodes, so we don't know.
Yeah,
but so is it coin toss with Star Wars?
It felt like they were trying to leave that as a convenient out for why we don't see her in Rogue One. So. I can understand in some ways, but
maybe she survives and maybe she can come back, and
maybe they'll bring her back in something else. I don't know, but they didn't really. I don't feel like they really gave her the justice that she deserved, other than the last like couple minutes of episode. What was it, 6 arc? Whenever she took out Dr. Gorsht, the Worst.
The Gorsht. And Matt says, so this is probably fact. This is not the last time we will see Bix. So
okay. So
that's what I mean.
There are 3 more episodes.
It can still be resolved. It can still be resolved. So I think it needs to be resolved. So that, like I said,
it's likely. Yeah.
Yeah. I complained about 4, 5, 6 because it was a disappointing ending to 6. And then they gave us 7 and 8. And then 9, opened it up. So I guess that's...
Well, the ending was actually satisfying in 6, right? Because she finally took out Gorsht.
No.
You didn't like that?
No, I liked that, but it was rushed. That part was rushed.
Oh, yeah,
that, I wanted more of that.
Sorry, I was just clarifying.
It was all the stuff on Ghorman, the early build up to Ghorman. Right. It's like they go from like that whole like kind of weak transition, like, it's the first flailing failure that was all set up, and that thing was just forced to me and took too long. And then they gave us 5, but because they told us, well, 1, 2, 3 is a complete arc, and then 4, 5, 6 is a complete story. Just kidding. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be the rest of those.
Right.
So my expectations were that 4, 5, 6 would be as complete as 1, 2, 3, but it wasn't. So then it felt whatever. And then 7 and 8 happened. I'm like, oh, okay. So now if I didn't know that, I just watch all of that and binge it, and just be like, oh, okay. So it just continues for another 2 episodes. Then it sets up 9.
Yeah.
Really, 9 is a transition into 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, it is. realistically.
That's and 9 was insane all its own.
I know. I can't wait to
crazy.
start talking about 9. But before we do, I did want to get the fact checker's opinions on Bix. What did you think about the Bix arc?
Yeah, it did seem unnecessary, an unnecessary ending to maybe that storyline. Unless we see more and they explain it more in the next 3 episodes, it kind of threw away what they had shown between Bix and Cassian from the previous episodes of them, finally getting together and him helping her and her helping him, and then they were kind of building a life together and trying to be someone normal.
Hand dance.
What?
What'd you say?
Oh, the hand dance. Yeah,
I said the hand dance.
The hand dance.
Oh yeah.
The weird.
That was your favorite
they
part.
made us watch in between here. Yeah, it's like, what is going on here?
Yeah. I'm getting uncomfortable.
Or I was like
in that Geo documentary with 2 birds. It was weird.
It's kind of weird.
Or I was gonna say something like, I don't know, like maybe she's gonna like have a baby. Maybe we find out that
The chat
Andor's
did say that
got
last night,
a son or a daughter, like very similar to Kanan and little green
that's
boy.
That's a good point. I had not considered that. I thought about that at one point, but I totally forgot. So that's a great point, because then is that kind of the satisfying ending? Not really.
And if
but
he knew that, then he would.
Yeah, Andor's legacy lives on type of deal.
And if he knew that she was with child, then he would definitely not, or they would change everything.
Ooh, that's a really good point.
I'm just saying that changes everything.
That does change
and so
everything.
Maybe that can happen. Maybe it's dissatisfying to do that. Maybe that's not Bix's role and that's not feminine or whatever. I don't know. But I think it's definitely a possibility if I were writing a story.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of hope they do that now. That would actually give it more meaning.
And it'd be cool for casting because it does change Andor.
Mm-hmm.
Or Rogue One, I mean.
Yeah,
and
that definitely does.
And it opens up things like, oh crap, like where's he now? We could see him in 20 years.
Yeah, we could see him in The Mandalorian.
He is the Mandalorian.
He is the Mandalorian. He's the Mandalorian. No, Mandalorian was rescued during the whatchamacallit, the Clone Wars.
All right, now I'm getting a little nervous here because no comment. Matt Risman said no comment. So her being pregnant crossed my mind, but then I can't see her leaving him if she has a baby. I don't know.
I'd like to see
you guys are making me, all right. I think I figured it out.
Yeah.
But I'm happy about it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty satisfying in a lot of ways. That makes more sense and helps retroactively, which, again, to be fair, we haven't seen the end. So, and even with last week's episode, we were like, hopefully it's just a slow burn. And then we did this week's arc and we're like, okay, the slow burn. I'm fine with the slow burn now that we got this.
Like, what a terrible ending to episode 6. They're like, well, that's not the end of the movie. That's not the end of the show.
Right.
What episode 9? So what a terrible ending to this thing. It was like, well, there's still 3 more episodes. Okay, well, give us the 3.
Trust him a little bit.
Yes.
We'll be patient. You delivered something crazy good in the last 3.
Yeah, and speaking of the last of the episodes, we got to talk about Mon Mothma. And we got to talk about everything that happened and why 9 for me was my favorite. Although again, 8 was superior, but 9 to me was my favorite just for the fact that, oh man, we finally got like a bigger galaxy stuff going on in Andor, and we got to see it even through the eyes of Andor, which is just like not a regular dude, but a behind the scenes, like a operative who's there to help, and the intrigue that's happening behind the scenes. And how she made it out of there alive and how she had to go through that ordeal. But it was awesome to see her epic speech in the Senate, live action, and the way she called out the Emperor. Yes, and how they were trying to shut off the stream shut it down, and they couldn't shut it down. I loved all of that. Hunter, what was your take on episode 9? Did you like where they took Mon Mothma and how they handled that whole situation?
I loved it. We finally got a little bit more depth from her too, so it's nice. Her speech was great. Kind of seeing the plays between how there's insurgents everywhere and you can't really trust anyone. Cassie's part was really great and all of that, and but I very much enjoyed her. And she's never really been exposed to violence too, so like when those scenes were going down, her freaking out the whole time was pretty funny. Like Andor would have to like basically direct her, like, hey, stop running, slow down. It's like she's never been. Yeah, it just shows you like her flight response is kicking in hardcore because she's trying to get out of there. But I've said this 1,000 times. I adore that blue speeder thing she's got. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen in Star Wars. That's like the Shelby Cobra
Yes.
Star Wars theaters. Like
exactly.
It's so slick. So I love every bit of that, and seeing that whole thing take place was pretty cool too.
It's like this.
I loved episode 9.
It's like the Shelby Cobra
Rolls
Royce of Star Wars.
For sure.
Like, dude, it's like high class, but it would win in a race. You know,
so that thing. You know that thing has some white wall tires on it. If it had tires,
yeah, it does.
It's classy for sure.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
Vehicle.
That is such a good point. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the Mon Mothma part, and I will say it now. I did kind of mention it before, but the only disappointing part for me was that they didn't have live action Rebels. I wanted to see live action Rebels. They have such a good Zeb. And wouldn't it be so cool if we got live action Rebels? I know why they didn't do it. Money. It wasn't Andor.
They're just saving it for Mando.
It wasn't an Andor series. It's already in Rebels. You don't need to see the whole thing.
They nodded to it though. I was going to say, because Tony didn't. I don't think he really watched any of the other stuff. He just kind of wrote his own.
I think he watched that. I think he had to understand
because Mon Mothma is heavily in that. Yeah. She does the same type of speech. You know, it's just in front of the galaxy on that in the plane or in the ship, right? Wasn't it on the Ghost that she transmits?
Yeah, it is. It's right on the Ghost.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that, and it's like crazy how the timeline. They're like she goes and does it again. It was like the same day or whatever.
Right.
But then they're like, that's where maybe forced tension or somebody was like, I just knew that she obviously is going to make it out of the Senate, and Andor makes it out of the Senate building, you know. But, you know, the way that he crafted the 3 extra people with
Bail
Organa to do that. And then the one chick was, you know.
A spy for Lonnie, which we didn't see Lonnie in this episode. Right. But that's how Luthen knew that there was a plant in Bail's rescue group. Dude, genius. Genius writing. I love that.
It was like so deep. I was like, you didn't even need to do that. Like that was like another extra set of complication, but it did complicate Mon's decision.
Yes.
And it made it feel like, because obviously she trusts Bail Organa. And she was
trusting judgment there.
Yeah, she's like freaking out. Wait, like if I make this call, like this, there's no turning back. And what if I make it with the wrong person? And then Luthen's so mysterious, even as he's explaining to it, he's like, I'm just letting you know, like you're gonna find somebody that says I have friends everywhere, and that's what's gonna get you out. And if you don't, and she's like, can I trust you? He's like, you know, it's like Luthen, like shoot straight, man. Give me a break. Like
he tells it to her, and then turns around and goes.
Yeah, he's like, stop speaking in riddles, man.
Right.
Just tell me, give it to me straight, dog. Tell me what's
look
up.
over here.
Stop giving me all these mysteries to solve when I just gave the greatest speech of my life and I call out Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
Like he could show up right there and start throwing lightning at me.
Dude, that was so cool. Like, I love that. She did that and they did that. So good. It would have been better if he was showed up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, the call out was great. It kind of gives me hope that he is going to make some form of a mild appearance somewhere along the lines. But no, I mean, to your point though, it's like they didn't have to do the Bail Organa insurgent thing, but they did, and that's what makes me annoyed at Star Wars, because they'll do a great job covering details there, but then they'll just leave important ones out to hang. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like, so it's frustrating, but also nice to see at the same time. It's like, all right, well, at least we know. Some people care, but some others, maybe not so much.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know Matt here saying there was a lot of discussion with Tony and Dan how to handle her Senate speech and the Ghost speech later. It was a thing they thought a lot about. Okay, so he definitely watched that and they definitely talked about it. And Bismo here, what do you mean, Dustin? We have Ahsoka for live action Rebels.
Boo.
Well, you're not wrong to a certain degree, but we didn't get all the Rebels crew, and who the only thing I would have been satisfied if they just showed like Zeb like hanging out of the Ghost, or the Ghost, and her Mon Mothma coming aboard or something like that. Like I would have flipped out if they would have.
I'm grateful they didn't show him, because they ruined literally all the characters with the exception of Chopper. So it's like
Ahsoka.
So it's like I'm happy they just left him set aside, because they can't ruin him. I hope to see him. And side note, completely in the Mando movie. If those two don't fight, I'm going to be upset. They need to throw down just a little bit.
Who?
Just one time. Zeb and Mando.
Zeb and Mando. Oh yeah, you have a disagreement on something.
If you remember, several thousand streams ago, we had a conversation about who would win that fight. So there's a callback.
Oh, holy cow! Man. Well, I love that. Actually,
I forgot about that. Dang,
because Zeb was in with the same bar as Mando at the end of Mandalorian season 3. They didn't talk to each other, but
they did end up talking to each other.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I don't know. That's that. I know it's a small minor gripe for me, but I loved how they really showed Andor. That was the thing I liked about this last arc. Here is it didn't feel like Andor was just a catalyst for things, and we were more concerned about all the other characters, which we are to a big degree. But Andor was very significant in this role in getting Mon Mothma, the leader of the rebellion, who becomes the leader of the rebellion. And his role in getting her to safety, and how that even does tie into Rogue One, and how she introduces him to what's her face, which I don't remember in Rogue One now. But yeah, I liked how they showed that, and how he was so cool and collected under pressure, and it gave him a chance to be cool again in Star Wars, like the evil chick, and how I really liked Erskine. Erskine was awesome. Like he was like totally sold out to protecting Mon and everything about it. I absolutely loved his character. I liked his character a lot. But the fact that he's like, she's a rebel or a rebel spy or something like that, and then Andor without hesitation just blows her away. I was like, yes, dude. Yeah. And then even what he did, even what he did with the was like brutal, but at the same time, that's Andor, man. He shoots first and asks questions later. He knows how to throw people off. The driver, as
soon as he heard ISB insurgent, bam, dead.
Yeah.
No questions asked, moved on to the next. A man of action. That's, dude, my love for Andor has gone up a lot in this season, especially with this episode. I can relate to him more because I'm very much a shoot first, ask questions later type of guy. So,
well, we know that with Geese as well,
especially with the Geese. Yeah.
Hey, he had it coming. Thank you very much. So, or she, whatever it was.
Chloris on the Florus had to happen, and then the chick. Well, I don't remember her name, but she was like, that was in the trailer.
Yeah.
You're right. One of the trailers,
the blasters being pointed and stuff like that.
Yeah, when she was doing that, we're like, "Who is that?" And I
didn't watch any of the trailers. I refuse to watch trailers now these days.
Because they showed a lot. Apparently, they showed a lot.
They did a lot more than I thought. I thought they were just going to show like the first 3 episodes, which they have been more famous for doing in the past. Was only showing like the first 3 episodes in the trailer, so that it don't give away too much. But in this, they gave a lot away. Mm-hmm. There's probably still scenes that we haven't even seen yet that we're going to see that was in the trailer. I need to rewatch the trailer now and find that out.
Did you see Bismo's question or comment?
No, what was that?
He said, "What's up with the Bail Organa retcon though? The lore break, is he not seen watching a speech with a bunch of other rebels and rebels, or is that what y'all were saying?"
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't. In Rebels, do they show Bail watching her give that speech? I don't remember. I'd have to watch Rebels again.
I could. It's been a while. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to look at it. So you probably would know even better than us there, Biz, on that front. But I don't know. We'll have to check in on that. Hopefully they didn't mess anything up. Those
more controversy.
That would be more controversy for Bail. Yeah. Speaking of Bail, what did you guys think? Did it throw you guys off as much that it wasn't Jimmy Smits?
No.
Actually,
it
no.
Did, yeah.
Oh, it did.
Well,
it did for me.
Okay.
It did for me, but I'm happy. I'm happy with the guy they chose to replace him. He's a very good Bail Organa. I was kind of not sold on him at first, but after seeing this last episode, it's like, all right, he very much acts a lot like Bail would. So I'm good with it.
Yeah. I know they did a really good job recasting, and we didn't have enough of him in the first time we saw him. That's why I think everybody was kind of like not for it, because they're like, that's not Jimmy Smits. And to be fair, I was that same way, because I'm like, dude, get Jimmy Smits. He is played Bail this whole time. But in this arc, I did not mind this guy as Bail. He did a really good job. What's his name, Factor?
Benjamin Bratt.
Benjamin Bratt. Oh yeah, that's what you were talking about, Dan. You wanted to get to Benjamin Bratt.
Yeah, I was just mentioning that, but
because he still has a lot of gravitas, or the acting skills is top notch too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think he portrayed a more like confident leader of a rebellion in this way, because Jimmy Smits a lot of the times does portray this, but he plays a really good dad. Like That's the only thing I will say about Obi-Wan show is I actually liked his portrayal as a dad. He was probably one of the best parts of that entire series was Jimmy Smits.
Well, he can actually act.
Yeah, he can actually act, and he does.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I would be fine if that guy was my dad. He seems like a really cool dude. Bail Organa.
Yeah.
But in this,
I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It worked though with Benjamin Bratt. I thought it worked really good. I was not taken out with him. I bought it. I was like, which even points to a bigger point, I think, is can they recast the original trilogy?
As Bismo said the exact same thing. Nah, they should recast more. Not recasting cost us many stories of Luke, Leia, and Han.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Hot takes.
I think it's a prime example.
I think it is.
You know, they recasted Han and unfortunately gave him kind of a weak backstory unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And but he's not a bad Han.
No.
Like, it works.
Right.
Like, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones, but they had that young Indiana Jones guy, you know, and in the Last Crusade or whatever. And you're like, okay,
Phoenix.
fine. You could bring him in and, you know, he could have played up to a certain point, and then you bring in Harrison Ford to play, you know. So go from there and take the same idea with Luke, Leia, all of them.
As long as you cast it, but the bigger point is as long as you write it well.
Yep.
I think that was the point of this. It was like, obviously we were all at first like that hashtag not my bail. But by the end of this, I was kind of like, I'm fine with it. And it just took a little bit for us to get into it. And I think that could work out so well with all the recasted characters for Luke, Han, and Leia. I mean, you got them all right there. And people have been talking about that more and more. So I'm glad you brought it up, Biz. And I keep seeing in the news even that Sebastian Stan, people are even pushing Sebastian Stan even more to play Luke. And then Alden Ehrenreich again to play Han Solo.
He's already in the Disney family.
There was another chick online who did like a really good cosplay of Leia. And I was like, dang, that does look like Leia. But I actually I think it would be even better if they had shoot, I just lost her name. I forget everything live. Who plays Leia?
Carrie Fisher.
Okay,
her daughter.
Yeah.
I blanked there. Her daughter. I think it would be so much better if Carrie Fisher's daughter played Leia. And I mean, you got them all right there. They're all ready to rock, dude. So anyway, that was a little bit of a side tangent. Do you guys agree with me on this? I think you do.
But it did bring up the conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And then that's what Tim Merkins had said. I'd seen this too, that Tony had introduced him in the last arc so that we could get used to him.
Genius move.
Get him out of our system. You know, like, wait, what the heck? Why are they recasting? Instead of just like dropping it now in this pivotal scene with Mon Mothma. And we're like, it was a good scene with Mon Mothma, but I just couldn't get over the fact that Bail Organa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, it's like smart on top of smart when playing 4D chess and trying to deliver your story. Like how you delivered it. Well, we need to do it in the 3-episode arc, so we got to deliver him in the end of 6, and then just set that up before 7. You know, so when 7 and 8 hit, you know, it's like, oh man, it's crazy.
It's like just imagine Tony like after 4, 5, and 6 happen, he's just sitting there like, oh, you haters now, just wait,
Yes.
you know, and then knowing what was going to happen and how, like, I mean, I'm sure you're still nervous to a degree, but at the same time. That's also what we heard online from people that have seen the whole entire series. We heard, and that's why we were almost extra disappointed with last week because we were like, no, we heard after the first 3 episodes that it just got way better. And now we can understand why they were saying that. Yeah. We can really understand why they were saying that with this arc. And I have high hopes for the last 3 episodes, which I do want to get into. Dan, go ahead, and then we'll move into
I was just going to say, you know, I'm Dan. So Matt Risman doesn't say anything incorrectly. And remember, he said there was a lot of discussion with Tony and Dan. So, like, when I was talking to Tony, you know, I'm telling you, we thought about this stuff. You know, we weren't messing around. I clearly approved everything that he chose. I was like, well, I didn't think of that, but I was thinking something similar. You know, but
no wonder we're cooking. Dan's pulling the strings.
As a representative of the Andor writing team, no,
dude, why the heck? Brother. If you're doing that with Tony, why are we helping more? Why am I not in the show?
You know, it's ISB secrets. You know, I can't tell you what I can't tell you.
You've just been using us this entire time. You got into Star Wars and not us.
I'm like, you guys, like, Dedra's like a complicated character. Give her some slack.
Give her some slack, man.
Dan has been working on Andor season 2 for 2 years now, or 3 years, and not telling us.
He did all the music.
He's writing the script in between live streams.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Dan, what are you doing? Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't look
her. Matt's a plant to make you think that I'm not in there. You know, he's just.
This is so weird.
It's like telling you the truth. It's like telling you a lie with the truth.
Yeah,
I see what's going on.
Lies.
Those are the best lies.
This is tricky. He called me out, but I'm calling him back out. It's part of the way we do this.
Dan Gilroy.
Yes, Dan Gilroy. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's fair.
Different Dan.
That's his brother.
That's my middle name.
Gilroy.
Dan
or Dan?
Dan's your first name.
Dan.
Gilroy's your middle name.
Yes. My middle initial is a G though, so it's pretty close.
Good to know.
Wow.
Well, now that we've got that out of our system, let's speculate. I want to speculate before we get on out of here. I know it's getting a little late, but let's speculate on what we're going to see for the last 3 episodes of Andor Season 2, baby. Where do you guys think we're going to go from here? Well, obviously, we got the KX. We got K2SO back. I can't wait for the levity that comes with that.
Well, Paul is reading your mind.
Yeah.
And right as soon as you ask the question, he says, what's the deal with B2 Emo?
Whoa.
Yes, you were mentioning droids.
What the heck just
happened? Are you Paul Dustin?
Out of that's my middle name? No, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding.
Oh, and Dan Gilroy wrote 7 through 9. Oh. Give it up for the Dans.
And he 100% wrote her speech. I did hear that in the Declassified. Wow. He asked her if she wanted to write it, and she was like, no, I just want to deliver it. She's like, I basically was like, I trust your writing more than which is
she delivered.
But she definitely delivered it, and he wrote it fantastically.
Oh, yeah.
And they helped write that whole, I think, Dan, was it you who were telling me that they wrote
it?
Sorry, I'm not speaking English very well, but the song, the national anthem.
I had heard Tony in another interview.
Yeah.
How he said that he and this other creative director guy spent like years planning all of the aesthetics, the clothes, the surroundings, he said he deep dove into the culture, the music, the language of Ghorman.
I love that.
And so he said all the way down to, because he's a musician. He was like a professional musician. Tony Gilroy, you know that?
I did not.
He was his whole life. He was supposed to be a professional musician. His whole family's musical, and his dad was a famous writer as well in like Hollywood or whatever.
Dude, that's.
But they lived in like the East Coast and didn't live like high or whatever. But then turns out that they wanted a song there, and then he said that I just overheard him say as he was giving the interview that he wrote the national anthem with his friend, another musician guy.
Dude, and
then I was like, when are they going to use it? I figured they would play it over the radio, and then when they start singing, I'm like, what are they singing? And then obviously that was their national anthem, because it was like sounded very national anthem-y, and it was even more pointed. What a perfect climax to that!
Yes, before
all heck broke loose.
So good.
He wrote it though, and he's a musician, so
that took it to the next level. And then you just saying that just takes it even more. I love those small details that we get added in there, and that's why I love when Matt brings those up, and you, Dan, and Fact Checker and Hunter, and I'm excited to get more of that. That's what it's fun to find out about the behind the scenes whenever they take this much care and they like obsess over it and they want it to be this good, and it is that good because they lived it. They lived in the world. They brought us the world, and they did such a good job with that.
Proud of it.
Yeah, and they're proud.
Makes a huge deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't just a paycheck for them. This was more. This was art. This is art for them. They want it to be and fit. And the other point I wanted to make with the whole Mon Mothma speech real fast is I like when things tie together because it does make you want to go watch more Star Wars. Everybody in the comment section was talking, and Matt had already watched it, the Rebels series in the episode where Mon does give the speech on the Ghost. And I like whenever things tie together like that. It just deepens the lore and it shows you the progression of things, and I really enjoy that. So that was another pro. But let's again get into some speculation here. Paul, you are on the money. So what's the deal with B2? Do you think we're going to see B2 back in episodes 10, 11, 12?
I hope so. some kind of closure would be nice.
I feel like he'll show up on Yavin.
Yeah, I think we're going to get. I would assume we're going to be introduced to some more characters that have ties to Andor that we didn't see till Rogue One. At least I would hope so. But I mean, I really don't know what they're going to do, to be honest. So I'm just going
to. Who do we have?
I don't want to have any expectations.
Exactly. Yeah. Like what is there to be done at this point?
Right.
Yeah, that's the tough thing.
Other than close all of the arcs. Do they have to open up a new? I mean, obviously, it's now is it 0 years before or 1 year now? It'll be 1 year before the Battle of Yavin.
Technically, this is 2 BBY.
Okay, so it'll be one
BBY, which does lead, I think, directly into Rogue One.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, how long was Luke with them before the Battle of Yavin? Like a month, a week, a day?
I don't think it was that long.
20 minutes.
Not long. Yeah,
20 minutes.
It was pretty quick.
I mean, the timing was pretty.
It's hard to say. I mean, again, in the original trilogy and a lot of Star Wars, it's somebody said it elegantly before that it travels at the speed of convenience. I think that was Jared. Actually, our GM said that that Star Wars travels at the speed of convenience.
Yeah,
great line by him. War of the Cosmic Tyrants. Check it out. Star Wars D&D. But yeah. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. So there's so many different things. I'm really mostly just looking forward to K2SO and Cassian doing a mission together. And I feel like it's going to be a setup, possibly tying back in Krennic. Maybe you get some Tarkin. Maybe get Emperor or Vader, like you were saying, Dan, in there. I just don't know. That's the thing. We have tied up so much here. Sorry, go ahead, fact check.
Yeah, well, Luthen stayed behind.
Oh, good point.
We
Luthen,
we know K2 walks across some bridge in what looks like almost Coruscant or city.
Good point.
And knocks a trooper off the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like there might be a mission.
So it's
maybe to help.
There's one last Luth end.
Dang you, that was good. I love that.
Dan.
You set me up. I just had to deliver the punchline.
You wonderful goose man. I love you.
Danny Gilroy.
Danny Gilroy, the writer. You know him. You love him.
Oh, no.
That's why he calls the shots.
That's why he calls the shots.
Epic writing like that. Lobster Dan. Everybody get pinchers up, people. Pinchers up.
I would assume that's kind of how they would write back into Krennic and Clea, who, by the way, that's another character I never really thought I would really like a lot is Clea.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed her story through most of this as well, kind of fun parts that she's had, but I'm assuming that we're probably just going to have to go back to Coruscant and figure out some political stuff before we can reassert. See, that's why I'm curious, because Star Wars always makes me a little nervous when they go to stick the landing, because they have a track record of not exactly doing it correctly. So I am curious to see how they do stick the landing, because like you said, there's so many different routes that they can go, and I really don't know what they're going to do, to be honest, at this point. I mean, we may get some more Bixen before the end of it all. I mean, who knows really at this point. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing Cassian and the droid hang out. B2 be fun. So
I just hope it's not like, I hope it didn't peak again here. Like Narcana 5 was the peak of season 1. I hope we didn't just peak here, and it does, like to your point, they don't stick the landing. But I think it's almost going to feel like an epilogue in some ways, that they have to tie up all the loose ends, like you were just saying, like Luthen, Clea, Dedra, all the different players, Vel, I guess, Bix, B2. I know, right? I'm sorry, I said her name, but
I call her Drywall Vel. She's such a loser. She's so boring.
Not needed. But there's so many loose ends, and I feel like it's going to be more about that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, what happens to Bix? What happens to, do we see Galen Erso? Probably not. I don't think they're going to introduce him now. But that would be
interesting. But
it'd be interesting, but I don't know if they would.
Yeah,
because he's working with Krennic right now.
Is he already? Yeah, he is at this point.
He's communicated with Krennic. They're not adversaries. They're becoming more so. And I think right around this time is when they disappeared, or about the 1 year, maybe it was a little less, because they had Jyn. But Jyn had already at this point. No. I don't know, because Jyn is with
she worked with
she's an adult now.
Saw. She was basically with Saw for a while.
So yeah, he's been working with Krennic a long time, because she was a kid when the Rogue One happened with Krennic.
Right.
Oh yeah, and also at
the beginning, and it was like a 10-year gap or whatever between when we see her.
You're right.
So that all happened a long time ago. So Krennic and then that was back then when he knew Galen. So Galen is probably on some prison doing work for Krennic right now.
Probably. And that's from that book that you read too, Dan. Didn't you just Catalyst, which is a great book. That is a great book.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was hoping maybe we would get some of Galen and Lyra.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We don't need it. Krennic is epic. So if we get a lot of Krennic and a lot of Luthen, a lot of head, smart, final like unraveling of Luthen and Krennic, and however this goes down, it's going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think we'll see any big names? Maybe not. Well, from Rogue One, but I don't know. That just is kind of a shock character that you didn't expect to see in the last 3 episodes. Are they holding someone out?
Wait. Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
I don't know. So yeah, if we see those people,
true,
but no, is there going to be a huge name? Like, you've talked about could Luke show up? Ooh. Han or whoever, could they
Leia
show up and surprise us and blow our minds
Leia
in that way?
I feel like Leia would be the most kind of
most probable.
Most probable.
Well, she's doing dealings with the Senate still, right? Or
kind of, but she's running missions though. I think around this time too.
But did you hear?
She's in Rebels. So.
They rejected the ship or the cargo from Alderaan again.
Yes, yeah.
When Andor was checking in.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. No.
They dropped that little nugget.
Yeah, they dropped that little. So I was like, oh, that's Leia, or that's the Rebels crew, or who knows what.
You said rejected, or you mean receipt?
They rejected because they were locking down. The Empire was locking down. Remember that people that could travel to Ghorman or different? Wasn't it Ghorman?
I think so.
Yeah, and they mentioned that they shut down the girl.
Okay, sorry, I thought you were talking about Yavin.
The hotel guy. I think it was the hotel guy, and the girl was like, "Well, we just rejected the Alderaan thing, but
delivery or whatever."
Yeah, delivery. And so I was like, "Oh, Leia." That was kind of. I feel like that was maybe that's as close as we're gonna get to Leia.
Okay.
But,
and also I forgot even here. Connor Williams has a great point. Thanks for jumping in. He says Lonnie is in charge of the Ebrion sector. I'm not sure how to say that. Sorry, which includes Scarif. My guess is Lonnie learns of the existence of the Death Star and passes the info on to Luthen.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Which gets him killed. That might be his final. Yeah, we might see the end of Lonnie. I was wondering about that. I forgot about Lonnie too, which I mentioned him earlier, but. Yeah, and he said it would explain how the Alliance knows about the Death Star at the start of Rogue One. That would be a great tie-in, and that Luthen even helped.
That's probably how they would do it, I would think, to be honest. So that actually makes a lot of sense. I forgot about that. Somewhere along the line, they're going to have to get the information about the information about the information of the Death Star.
Yes. Right. Yeah, that's very, very true. We have to get to the Death Star.
Yeah, that's what it's leading. That's what Rogue One's about in a lot of ways.
Maybe Kino.
I don't think we'll get Vader, but I do think I have a weird feeling that Palps is going to show up there towards the end. Maybe even if it's just for a second. Maybe I'm just hoping for it, but I don't think we really need any other big name characters, to be honest with you, to tie the story in. And I definitely don't want any CGI characters because I don't want a Sith Master Nick rant.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We don't need another one of those.
We don't need for the next decade.
For the next decade.
Yeah. Some people say he's still upset about it.
He is.
You ask him. I feel like he's the type of guy that sits down and eat a bowl of ramen noodles and he just starts going off and on about it again. It just bothers him throughout different parts of his day.
You know what this reminds me of? Crappy CGI.
He just goes into it.
Yeah. Oh man, he hasn't been on lately, but he has watched the show, and hopefully we'll get him back soon. We're hoping to have him back next week if he can come on. But we're also very excited again to have Matt on next week. So definitely everybody stay tuned for that. We got a lot of exciting things. Biz is heading out. Thanks for joining, Biz. And thank you everybody in the chat that's been chatting along. You guys have been on fire tonight. We appreciate every single one of you who are here with us and that support the channel. Everything you guys do for us, we appreciate, and we love you all. And for everybody who's been watching along with us, we've been having so much fun, and we can't wait to watch it again. We are going to be doing another live watch along next week, Tuesday. It'll be the finale, and we can't wait to watch it with you guys and react and everything crazy that's going to happen. But all right, I think we're wrapping up the show. Any last thoughts, guys, for Andor's the episodes here for 7, 8, 9?
Well, Connor said to add to that, I think Luthen might task Lonnie to get to the bottom of what the Empire wanted on Ghorman. Dedra gets suspicious of Lonnie investigating it all spirals. That makes sense because that's the last interior loose end with Lonnie, and that'll give Dedra something to finish strong with. And then maybe she meets Luthen, or maybe Andor finally takes her out,
Yeah.
And that's the end of that, And then we send Andor to, but no, that would be the 1 year before. So
I'm starting to wonder if Connor's name's not Dan.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like Connor's best friends with Matt.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, that's some great
guys are too
stuff.
smart.
You guys are way too smart. And wow, what a show. What an episode. Hunter Davis, thank you so much for coming on, man. We appreciate having you back.
It's always fun to be here, and I'm always here to give my unsolicited opinion, so it's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm just really glad that you enjoyed this arc and that it wasn't Andor for us this time, and that we could celebrate it together.
Yeah, my timing just kind of happened to luck out that it seems like I was asked to come on at the peak gas of the absolute show. So sometimes it's just how the cards fall.
That's right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And we look forward to seeing more from you in the future and having you back on the show. We'll definitely have you on again. You are a staple now at this point, Hot Take Hunter. And in the comments, you never know when he's going to come in and rip us all a new one and then jump out, which we love.
True.
It's so cool to see the fans, most people excited about what we got. I haven't seen any of like the detractors of Andor, or what are they saying? I don't really want to know, but like how can you deny some of this? I haven't seen much
hate about it.
Not this week.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So everybody's shut their mouths because it's actually good. And it's kind of nice to see, when there's something good and we can all be like, didn't expect it. Maybe we didn't, some people didn't want it. But when it's good, you're like, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
I'm mad. People are probably mad that it took place in Andor, if anything else. Like, why couldn't they have done that in any of the other shows that were already like, Obi-Wan, or I don't know, any of these shows that should have been great. They should have been this level. But I think it's just proving that it can be great. Star Wars can be great when it's written correctly, and it can be fun for people that aren't even excited about it. But you're like, whoa, that was just next level production, writing. If you put the time and the energy and you get the right team around, and they've been working together a long time, so it sure shows. It just... It's fun to see it.
It's Star Wars done right, and it's kind of a refresh in a lot of ways. Like, it's refreshing.
It's to your point earlier too that you said it's like, look, there's so many no big name actors can make a show. At the end of the day, it's the writing straight out of the get go. You can't build a house on a terrible foundation. So you can have the worst show in the entire world with some of our favorite actors and actresses, and they just absolutely crush their performance, but the show absolutely sucks.
Yeah. Exactly.
Been kind of the track history here. It's like, let's dial it back. Let's get the cart not so